Hi guys, it's Rob from the Apostle P. Well, after 3 years off YouTube, after closing the RB Carnut channel and being a viewer, subscriber, commenter for a few years, I'm back with a new channel. Reference my introduction video from yesterday. But as you're probably aware if you followed me at all a few years ago, I'm pretty much a knife guy, so as I planned to restart my YouTube broadcasting career, I put a lot of thought into what knife I was going to look at first. The first knife video on the Apostle P. And boy, I'll tell you what, the knife that I'm going to feature tonight, I'm pretty shocked myself. This is the first one. I've had it for a few months. As you get to know me, you're going to realize I'm not a knife snob. I don't own a knife I paid more than $200 for. Been collecting for about 35 years. I really appreciate the knife art, but I'm also kind of a frugal person. It's just not in the design of my life right now to have knives that cost $500, $600, $700, so I don't have any. What I do have is a case full of knives that are extremely functional and well made. A few months ago, I didn't own a cold steel folding knife. A few months ago, I decided I was going to wade into that realm and discover what this triad lock was all about. It looked great to me in design. I know I've followed a little bit of the career of Andrew Demko, its designer and inventor. It's pretty good stuff, and I really wanted to buy a cold steel knife that had the triad lock, and I wanted to do it without spending a lot of money. I wasn't going to go drop $200 on a large Espada with Aus 8 steel and an aluminum frame that gets all scratched up in a week. That didn't seem like a good deal to me. So I wanted to get one of the stronger knives, so I went looking at the Recon 1 / AK-47 / American Lawman series because I really like the engineering idea of super thick G10 slabs with no steel liners, and the theory of the strength of that was pretty intriguing to me. So I went on the cheap. I decided to get a Lawman because you can buy them for well under $60 pretty easily, and interesting how I settled on the Lawman. Really, I really like the look of the Recon 1 more, but the Lawman was a little cheaper. So here it is. Rob's American Lawman. Oh, you're noticing something right off the bat. It doesn't have the Teflon / Tuff-X / painted on stupid coating. No, I got rid of that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So I got this knife in the mail, bought it on eBay a few months ago. Not a cold steel fan. Don't like Lynn Thompson. Don't like the fact that he's a marketing company and not a knife maker. Don't like the fact that the best you can expect is Taiwan production. A lot of China there too. But you know, I love this knife. I'm going to get the negatives out of the way first. Horrible coating. Buy some chemical stripper, aircraft stripper, or any stripper that is rated to remove epoxy. You're going to need some soak time. You're going to need a soft steel or brass bristled brush. You're going to have to disassemble the knife. I decided to strip my blade, my lock bar, and my pocket clip, which is also stonewashed, by the way. as I said, going to need some soak time, about 30 minutes, and then you're still going to have to work. You're going to have to keep dipping your brush in stripper and scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing until the coating's gone. It's not that difficult. Just going to take a little time. While you're in there, another complaint of mine about this knife, the machining in the critical areas is horrible. I would call it roughed out. In the notch, in the blade tang where the triad lock engages, lots of tool marks. The flatness isn't good, or the parallel nature of some critical surfaces, for instance, where the radius on the back of the blade tang rolls around the tip of the lock bar. Not very even contact. The front of the lock bar, where it engages a stop pin. Now, as you're looking at mine, it's shiny and smooth. That's because I made it shiny and smooth. Fraught with tool marks. The nose of the lock bar, the tooth of the lock bar as it rides around the blade tang, lots of tool marks. Made it real gritty opening. While I had it apart, I basically fluffed it and buffed it. You're going to want to do that to yours. You're going to make the lock engage more consistently. You're going to make the knife open more smoothly. And you're going to eliminate or greatly reduce the stick that these knives like to have when you're disengaging the lock. That's pretty much it for me on complaints, except for, the notorious G10 that's too rough to pull out of a pocket. You just have to take the clip off, sand it. I do not recommend the epoxy modification. You're not removing enough material to affect the thickness of the knife or make its profile look bad in any way. Just sand it till it's smooth enough to get in and out of your pocket. Put your clip back on. Now, why do I like this knife so much? Wait, one more thing before I get to what's great. The edge, guys. And I have subsequently bought a Recon 1. Both the Lawman and the Recon 1 came to me with jacked up edge geometry. When I got this knife, if you were to look at the tip, I'm trying to get this to focus for me. The angle on this tip was so bad from one side to the other. I had like almost no primary bevel on one side, and it almost looked like a chisel grind. It was just horrible. Lots of grind marks in the approach, and symmetry was horrible. So that was a couple hours to fix that. No big deal. It's a $60 knife, guys. It's 1/10 the cost of a Demco AD10 and probably darn near as strong. Deal with it. Is it a knife that a non-knife person can spend a little more than he normally would to get a strong knife? Maybe he buys $20 knives, and in this case he splurges and buys one for $60. Is he going to notice these things? No. He's just going to know he bought a really strong knife. If you're a knife guy who's slumming a little bit, you'll like to buy Sebenzas and Striders and Hinderers and even, high-end production knives. Are you going to care when you spend $55 for an American Lawman that it has these little issues? Yeah, you're going to care, but you're going to understand why they're there. And you're probably enough of a knife guy that you can fix them. A little word about steel. It does have AUS 8A steel. Cold Steel loves that stuff, and frankly, up until now, I haven't been a big fan. Having said that, I think the way Cold Steel processes AUS 8A is very much akin to what Buck Knives does with 420HC. Cold Steel does use AUS 8A. The A stands for annealed. That means before the blade steel is hardened, it's first annealed, making a real uniform fine grain structure making it ready to harden. They use what they call a sub-zero quench after austenizing or the hardening process. It's not really a quench. They put the blade into a deep freeze after it's quenched in oil, probably in this case, to refine the grain structure and bring the grain structure out. Sometimes when you quench in a liquid, some of the structure that's present at temp, 1700 degrees or so, gets trapped and can't fully develop into finished hard steel when it hits that oil. When you deep freeze a blade, it helps finish that process, and then it goes into a normal temper. I believe that's what cold steel is doing when they say sub-zero quench, which sounds way cooler, because cold steel likes to sound cool all the time. What you get is blade steel that's about 0.75 to 0.80% carbon, with lots of good stuff that makes it tough, fine-grained, resistant to chipping, resistant to rolling, takes a fine, keen edge. I love to sharpen Aus 8. You can get it so hair-splitting sharp, and the way the cold steel heat treats their blades, I got to tell you, it holds a good edge. It really does not roll. I haven't seen any of my cold steel knives chip. What you get is a little flattening. It almost performs like S30V. It deforms quicker than S30V, but it has the same characteristics. I kind of like it, and it's a great value for the money. The blade on the Lawman's about 3.5 inches long. I think it's 3.5 millimeters thick at the spine. Very deeply hollow ground, super thin behind the edge, a little thicker at the tip by design. It's a strong tip, but it's still a splinter digger if you need it to be, especially after you reprofile it. You're going to have to kind of profile that tip how you like it. It's a great slicer. It's strong. Great ergos. I mean, awesome ergos. Forward choil works great. Main choil works great. Reverse grip works great. I mean, guys, for less than $60 and a couple hours work, best knife in the world for that kind of money. And I say that in spite of Lynn Thompson being Lynn Thompson. We'll pray for him, won't we? Oh, by the way, I haven't really mentioned this, but completely one-handable, opening and closing. Depress the lock with either your knuckle or the end of your thumb. Watch. Blade drops. Safety choil right on your finger. Can't cut yourself. Finish closing it. And listen to the swack coming out, guys. It's pretty cool. So, in conclusion, if you're a knife guy or not a knife guy, but you need a good knife and you got less than $60 to spend, buy a cold steel American Lawman. Great blade steel for the money. Great construction for the money. Overlook some details and you'll be fine. Super strong lock. Great pocket clip after you sand down the G10. And you know what? If you're not a knife guy but you want to be, and you want a knife you can tinker with a little bit, it's only $55. Take it apart. Play with it. Thumbs up, guys. I may make another video with the Recon 1 or maybe a disassembly and how to strip video. I don't know. Just buy one. Play with it yourself. I said play with it yourself.